El legado del maíz. Introducing rigorous content in a dual language classroom can be approached from different perspectives. I want to talk about 4 ideas that explain the journey through this project. The first one is adapting the content to the dual program. Adapting content is the foundational process where we decide why a topic is culturally relevant for our students. That process begins with checking the content proposed by the county. In order to do that, we look for similar topics in different Latin American countries because we teach Spanish as a second language. This content should be age appropriate, linguistically rigorous, that is wide vocabulary, interesting as to establish comparisons, and that represents the background and context of families and students. This process is based on the guiding principles for dual language, specifically Principle 2 about curriculum, key point E. The curriculum is culturally responsive and representative of the cultural and linguistic backgrounds of all students. Adapting content is the most interesting and difficult part because it requires previous research from the teacher of both the English curriculum and also Spanish resources to decide which one is appropriate to teach. At the same time, it is an opportunity to think about how to engage students and families and how they can be part of the process, like the construction of the activities or as an active participants to support the cultural legacy. The second idea is to introduce new content with age-appropriate vocabulary. To make the abstract concept of ancient more concrete, each lesson was taken as a trip to the past, and certain relevant characteristics were chosen such as location, home, clothing, and food. Each session focused on the categories and a specific vocabulary was repeated in each lesson. Linguistic frames with high-frequency words were used to practice conversation and build sentences to describe events or objects. In this way, the students learned that we were talking about an event that had already occurred some time ago, but comparing it with the current situation. Questions like, did the Mayans live in a home like the one you live in now? Did the Mayans eat the same foods you eat now? It allowed children to make comparisons and identify similarities and differences. It is from these similarities that the project made concrete. They found that for the Mayans, corn was one of the main products and it continues to be today. That trip to the past allowed them to learn about elements of their own culture, since many of the students come from families from Central America. The third idea is working with the family. The key point C of Principle 2 about family and community presented in the guided principle for dual language addressed that the program plans for and engages in community building activities with families to promote close relationships, collaboration, and other forms of sociocultural competence. This project was the best example of how traditions are alive in our families, and also it was a great resource to create lessons. It was an opportunity to integrate family traditions and culture in our routines. When they have the chance to share content or an activity related to the topic, they are helping us to create more impact in the students and support learning. That culture and curriculum connection can be manifested in the heritage, but not just as a language. Parents are part of the curriculum by sharing their heritage, culture, and traditions, and we can showcase their expertise. Allowing families to participate in an academic activity is challenging. For this specific lesson, Ashley's mom was invited to participate. It required a pre-planning meeting with her. We met by phone 1 week before. I explained the purpose of the activity. We discussed the time, materials, and resources. The day of the activity, she used her youngest son's iPad because Ashley has to bring the iPad at school every day. We did not have connection problems because she knew how to join teams, so the communication was easy and quick. She had everything ready. She explained where the tortillas come from and engaged students by showing the utensils, ingredients, and the process of making tortillas. She also sent tortillas to the students so they had the opportunity to watch the process and taste the tortillas. This was a cooperative activity that demonstrates that parents can be part of the construction of the curriculum by supporting us with activities related to their culture and traditions. The last idea is involve different strategies that allow working on the subject from the 4 communication skills. I want to describe some of the strategies used for this project. The first, which I have already described, was to use the trip to the past to develop the theme. I would show them the plane, pretend that we were boarding and going to the past. I used visual support material to show location, clothing, food, and home. This material was presented in each session and the specific topic was adapted. From the images, questions were formulated and vocabulary was reviewed. This allowed the participation of the students and encouraged the curiosity to know more about the topic. Hands-on activities were used to carry out individuality and creativity lessons that represented the learnings of the Mayan culture. A shirt was created and a corn was described and classified by edible parts and inedible parts. And a photographic session was performed in which the 4 aspects worked by the Mayans were reinforced: location, home, clothing, food. They also practiced writing using high-frequency words that reinforce the vocabulary learned. They wrote the sentence, "Yo veo el maíz." Technology, Google Earth, was used to travel to the Mayan ruins. We traveled to Chichen Itza, Yucatan, Mexico, and we toured the place. Finally, a mother was contacted to teach the children how to make tortillas. This was one of the favorite sessions because the children could observe the process of making the tortillas, recognizing the corn as a base product of its preparation. During our last session, we reviewed the vocabulary learned from that class using TPR activities. In this session, they also learned how to follow a sequence, retell the sequence by looking at the pictures, and to connect learning to real life and everyday situations. Most of them have eaten tortillas, but they did not know where they come from or how to make them.